We've created our first serverless function. We will now use Serverless Framework to automate our function creation. That means you don't need to log into the AWS console to create your own services. We can use Serverless Framework to create our services from command line. The advantage of this framework is that you can use other cloud services with this framework. For example, you can use Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud Framework to create your functions from command line. You can go to serverless.com's website to download and install Serverless Framework. You can find the instructions there. You need npm for this. We will create a basic scraper which gets the data from another web service by using screen scraping. For that we will use Node.js and cheer.io library in Node.js. Additional to this we will use a HTTP library in Node.js. First create a directory for this. Now we will use serverless command line. I assume that we installed serverless framework already by using node npm install command. Now I'm creating a serverless framework by using template AWS Node.js template, and I'm giving a name here to this template. As you can see, we have created our serverless framework files successfully. As you can see, it is created different files. First one is the serverless YAML file, that's configuration, and the handler function, that's our handler function in Node.js, which will call when we invoke this service. We are using Node.js, name is AWS, service name is provider name is AWS, service name is my scraper. There are many other options here. You define here your function, that is the file name, handler file, and I will use exported hello function there. This function will be executed whenever we call this AWS function, AWS Lambda Function. When you install SLS, Serverless Framework, you need to configure your AWS credentials. For that you can go through a tutorial on Serverless Framework. After doing this, you are able to deploy your Lambda function from command line by using SLS framework. I will deploy my function. I will define function name. For example, in that case we have function name hello. I don't need to enter my credentials each time. Serverless Framework is deploying my function now. It will take a while. After that I can invoke my function from the command line. Since that is not an API function, I don't have a HTTP endpoint, so that I cannot call this service by using a HTTP call. Yes, it's finished. Serverless Framework is uploading my file to the S3 service. After that, it has generated, as you can see here, other configuration files which is necessary for the Amazon Web Services system. It has created a zip file which has all my files here, and everything is finished now. My function is deployed successfully. Now I can invoke this function by using invoke. This will invoke my AWS function on AWS service. Yes, I'm seeing a response which is coming from here actually. If I change this, for example, if I set this to hello world and deploy my function again, sorry, I invoked my function. I will need to deploy my function again. As you can see, it is now faster. That's my second deployment. And it will create the same zip file and deploy this to S3 service first. After that, it will be available. So if I invoke my function again, I see hello world here. That is our first function. If you want to debug your function, you can also invoke this. If you want to debug your function before deploying it, you can also invoke this function locally. In that case, it's not invoked on AWS Lambda service. That's all. That's a basic function. After that, I will create scrapper functionality in that function. Let's do a small modification on this. First, I don't have a package JSON file here. I will create a package JSON file. I have created one. After that, I will install some libraries. Axios is our HTTP library. Chiro.io is jQuery for the Node environment actually. You can use CSS selectors or XPath selector there. And I will save this in my package JSON file. So I have to use install. This will install everything, and it has created our node modules file directory, which contains all our node modules. After that, I will include them. Now we are able to use external node modules in our function here. I will change message here. I will set it to cheers and Axios includes. I will deploy this again. Now this will include all our files. File size has been changed. As you can see, it is 1.14 megabyte. It was earlier not that big. It was earlier 400 bytes. But it has now megabyte size. Everything is okay. Now I can invoke my remote function. As you can see, I see message here. That is very good. We can include now external libraries and use them here. One other point here is that we can, for example, go to IMDb database and get the title of any film actually. Now we will use Axios and Cheer.io libraries. I will remove these parts. It is now empty. We have an empty function. I will copy and paste the code here, and I will explain this function to you. We will go to IMDb database and get a film web page, and from here we will extract actually only title of the film. We don't need release and rating. To make it simple, we only get title of the film. By using Chiro library, Axios will get the HTML page and it will return a response. In response data, we have all the HTML page. We will parse this by using Cheer.io library. We will assign it to $, and after that we will use a selector to get the content. We will assign the type to a JSON variable. That's our response which we will return. We need to use stringify here, and that's HTTP status code which we will return back to the client. We have a callback function, that is this function, which will return a payload, which is response to. If we have an error, we will call the first method without second method. That means there's an error. That's it actually. We can save and deploy this function. It is deploying our function again. Yes, it's deployed. We can invoke our function now. As you can see, it will go to the IMDb web page, get the title of this. I will show you now this in browser. As you can see, we get this title from the IMDb web page, and it is in body title here available. Secondly, that is without an API gateway. Secondly, we will add an API gateway to this, so that we can use curl or postman to access this content, to this function by using external web endpoint. For that, we will go to serverless again. We have handlers here. We will define new event to trigger this handler. I will call this film, and after that I can deploy my function again. After that, Serverless Framework will also show me the URL which I can use to call this AWS Lambda function. It will take a while. As you can see, we are changing only the YAML file, which is our configuration file. Yes, we can call our Lambda function by using this URL. I will go to browser, or you can use command line. We should see title of this page as JSON. As you can see, we are getting a JSON response from our AWS Lambda function, and with using an API function call. Our service is available under this URL. That's all. You have an Amazon Lambda function and API service.